Hey everyone, welcome to the Royce Reports. I am your host, Royce, and on today's video, we're going to be talking about one of the most important mascots in history, potentially returning to the Xbox platform. That's right, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. Let's go, baby. Let's freaking go. I've been waiting for this for a long time. Wait. Oh, it's not Ty. It's actually Banjo? Oh, okay. Well, that's weird because Ty's already come back, and that game is definitely a smaller game than Banjo. But there are new rumors of Banjo potentially coming back. So let's talk about it. This is mostly an Xbox-centric channel, so if you like what you see, be sure to hit that subscribe button. For this year, I kind of want to hit 1,000 subs. That is my goal. So if you can please help me out with that by hitting that subscribe button, liking, and commenting on this video, it would be much appreciated. So let's get into it. Banjo Kazooie, as you all know, is now owned by Xbox and has been owned by Xbox ever since they bought Rare. But ever since they've had the IP, they have done zilch, nothing, nada with this IP at all. It is pretty much dead in the grave. And their only attempt at this was with Nuts and Bolts, and we all saw how that ended up happening. And for years, a lot of Banjo fans have been petitioning for this game to make a return. And every time we hear about Banjo, it's either a plushie or it's a return to form over at Nintendo with a port or a character in Super Smash, but nothing on the Xbox side. But today, that might be a little bit different. This is coming from insider Nate Drake, and this is what he said about a brand new upcoming Banjo Kazooie. What happened to that Banjo game? Canceled, I guess. It's still an active project, but it didn't get the green light until early last year. There's a lot to do, and development can change a lot. Abandoned ideas, internal reboots, etc. Now, this also comes off of what Phil was saying with an interview with Jez Corden, stating, Banjo fans, I hear you. He also went on to elaborate a little bit more, stating that he doesn't tease things unless there is something there. There's always a purpose to what they are teasing, and maybe that was a hint to us as some Banjo fans, because I am truly a big fan of Banjo, and that's where I feel like there's a big divide in the Xbox community. Some very big Xbox content creators like Colt Eastwood do not like this game whatsoever, and that they're not really rooting for this game to come back. And that's fair. That's a fair criticism. Me, myself, I am really looking forward to Banjo Kazooie coming back because this is a game that is my childhood. But the thing about Banjo is, can it return, and can it actually be as triumphant as we think it is? Or is it just nostalgia at play? And that's what I want to talk about. Whether or not this game is being developed or not, doesn't really matter. It's about if Xbox needs Banjo, or if they should just leave it to the wayside. So we look at all the things that are important to an ecosystem. And one of those things is family-friendly games. Again, every generation of PlayStation has had Ratchet and Clank, has had Jack and Daxter, has had even Knack come and try to make a swing of things. And they even shipped every single PlayStation 5 with Astro's Playroom. That is, not the biggest IP ever, but is definitely a great way to kind of sink yourself into the system and kind of play around with what the potential of the systems are. And that's how PlayStation has usually utilized their family-friendly games as ways of showing off. And I think that's a great way of doing it. And with Nintendo, of course, the king of platformers, the king of mascots, they have it down pat. They don't need any help with that at all. Xbox, on the other hand, doesn't really have those mascots. You see it with Master Chief, of course, and you see it with the Forza car and maybe Kate Diaz and Marcus over on the Gear side, and now recently Hellblade. But other than that, where are their mascots? Banjo was a slam dunk for them if they actually utilized it, but they didn't. And it could be because of the sales. And even the creator himself states that I don't think Banjo would do well in today's day and age. It still amazes me that people still care about it, said lead programmer Chris Sutherland in an interview with Video Games Chronicle. I feel like you'd have to get a team with the humor that we had back then, and that's hard to replicate, added composer Grant Kirkhope. I think Rare would be open to somebody if they found the right team, but I don't feel like that team exists. Also, I'm not convinced the audience is there either. I don't feel like there are that many Banjo fans out there. Now, this is a very interesting thing, right? Like, you could either agree with this or disagree, and me, on one hand, actually disagrees with this sentiment. I think that the reason why there aren't fans for Banjo is because you abandoned that IP. What you need to do is to pump some energy into this IP and find your new audience. Reinvigorate this. Use it to sell your platform, because kids will flock to this. Parents will buy a console if they notice that there's a lot of family-friendly games on Game Pass. And having something like Banjo and Kazooie can be the potential that you need to kind of get that audience within the ecosystem. Now, they have to do a really big fundamental change with Banjo, because if you compare it to the other mascots out there, there's in-depth stories, there's groundbreaking technology being used, and there's even animations that are competing with Pixar themselves, and it feels as if you're playing a game that Pixar made. And when you have all that stacked up against you, you need to innovate what used to be and kind of make it bigger and better than it ever has been. And I think that they are able to do this. I've been a firm believer, and I'll continue to say this, if they can get Banjo Kazooie and make it the Ratchet and Clank for Xbox, I think they have a really big hit on their hand. Obviously, this is not a 1-to-1 ratio. You look at Ratchet and Clank and it's more of a shooter mixed with platform elements. And you look at Banjo Kazooie, which is a collectathon with platform elements. If you can change what Banjo Kazooie is and kind of approach it in a different way, then I think you have a better shot of making it popular, making it fit in with what kids and, you know, young adults are kind of looking for in their action adventure games. I'm a big firm believer of actually giving a voice to these characters, to Banjo and Kazooie. The bird and the bear don't really need to continue to make sex noises anymore, because, you know, you can hire voice actors now. That is something that is a big possibility and is not a limitation anymore. Like, they can do these things. They can make it look extravagant. You could just do something different. And that's what I want from Banjo and Kazooie. And I think that's what Xbox needs. They need a fun platformer. They have the tools now. They do. They have Spyro, and they have Crash, and they have Guitar Hero and Tony Hawk and all of these things. But that's just recently. They've had this for a while, and we're barely getting something. And who's going to be making it is another question. Because we know that Rare doesn't want to touch it. They haven't touched it for years. We know that a lot of people are trying to speculate that maybe Double Fine might have something to do with it, but Tim Schafer said himself that he doesn't want anything to do with that he wants to focus on brand new IPs in their own thing and not kind of do something from another studio. That's their decision what to do with it. And we also know that Phil Spencer loves to have teams that want to work on things that they actually are passionate about and not have to kind of get stuck in this rut of continuing to put out the same exact thing over and over. So maybe they finally found that team. You know, maybe it's Toys for Bob. Even though they just acquired them, it seems that this has been in development for the past year. Maybe they cut out a deal with Toys for Bob before all of this went down. Or maybe it's just another team. Maybe it's the original creators at Playtonic who went and did Yooka-Laylee. Now, Yooka-Laylee is really an okay game at best, but maybe with Microsoft and true passion, then they can actually turn out something great. But that's just my opinion on the whole Banjo and Kazooie thing. I would love for Banjo and Kazooie to make an epic return and have it be the pillar for their mascots, just as Ratchet and Clank is with PlayStation, just as Zelda and Mario are with Nintendo. And I think it could be done, but we have to wait and see. And if you're a Banjo hater, I don't blame you. the games have been they're kind of dated now. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who do you think is going to be working on Banjo, if it is true? And do you want to see Banjo come back? Do you want it to be kind of back to how it used to be, the collectathon, just revamped graphics? Or do you want them to go in a completely different direction, give them voices, make it a AAA extravagant Xbox Series X exclusive that pops? Let me know in the comment section below. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. I'm sorry that I sound like this. I'm kind of sick right now, but I still wanted to get this video out and talk about this subject with you guys, because Banjo is something that is actually very important to me. That's something that I grew up with, and I can imagine that it's also a lot of you guys also grew up with it as well. But do you think it should be just kind of dead, and should it stay dead? Let me know in the comment section below. There's a subscribe button, hit that for me, please. And what are you guys playing? I'm currently playing Alan Wake 2. I finally got caught up with the whole Alan Wake series, and I'm super excited to get into this because it seems that right now, so far, I've only played the first chapter. It's a perfect melding of what makes Resident Evil 2, which the remake, one of the greatest games ever made in my opinion, and True Detective, and it just kind of blends them perfectly together in a game that I didn't really think that I wanted or needed. But what are you guys playing? Let me know. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. I'll be seeing you on the next one, and remember, take it easy.